today's build is a vaguely medieval-inspired bench. Honestly, I was cleaning up the yard. I had these two posts, some 6x6 posts, and I had some 2x6, actually maybe a 2x8, left out in the yard. They had got kind of ragged, kind of weathered, not too far gone, but I'm cleaning up and I'm like, hey, I think I might could make something cool out of that, and it's already got a kind of weathered look. So we've been making things to improve the encampment. This was a pretty simple little project. I'm going to be using the table saw a lot today, but you can do it with a variety of other saws. So I got a little bit of a head start on one of the legs last night. Let's look at what I've done a little closer up as we go through that same process on this leg. As you can see, we are going to be making a simple type of joint, one that can be fit together snugly, but then disassembled with the proper force and a mallet by making these cuts in the top of our legs. We will make a center peg that we will then slot the board over. We will also be adding some feet on the legs, but we'll get to that next. So I've already made the first cut here. Let's take this over to the table saw and do the other cuts. So as you can see, I've got the table saw up pretty high. It's still not quite to the depth that I need it, so we'll have to finish off the cut with either the chop saw or the reciprocating saw. We'll see when we get to that part. But let's go ahead. I've got the guard on. That's going to give me my uniform length across all around. We're going to make 4 cuts, and what will end up looking like is a tic-tac-toe board on top. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is what we have after we've gone to the table saw. We've got cuts. Our table saw depth wasn't quite enough, so we'll have to finish that up with the reciprocating saw. And I could have shaved more off of the top to cut down to that length, but I just went with the length of the shorter one, and I wanted to be a little dramatic. But the board will probably come up half, and so really it's not going to be that much. It's fine. Just a little more work. But anyway, wanted to also point out one of the benefits of doing this and cutting out the peg. So this piece has 2 pretty deep splits on the sides, but as you can see with the cuts that we made, we're getting rid of those. So basically we're going to be cutting out all of this and leaving only the center. So let's take our saw and cut this down, and we will have both of our legs halfway done. So now that we've got the top of our leg post done, we'll dress the bottom. To add some stability, we're going to add some sort of wings out on the legs, sort of like a claw foot. Found some scrap wood around the shop, cut it down to the right length, and we'll take the table saw, or take this over to the table saw, and we'll cut out grooves across each way, and basically we'll slot these boards into it, and it will give extra stability there on the bottom of the leg. And the boards, little different sizes. As you can see, I've already gone and marked them out where I'm going to have to cut out the edges, and these will slot together like so, and then the whole thing will slot into the bottom of the leg. So now we've taken the leg of our bench through the table saw a few times, got most of this wood out here. There's a few pieces remaining, real simple to get rid of. Just take your chisel, little hammer, and go through. Pretty simple, just kind of, work at it, knock the wood chips out. Don't try to dig into anything too much, but don't worry about making that top surface super smooth. Right now we just want to clear out these channels and start fitting our wooden slats into them, or making sure that they will fit. So as you can see, we've got all of our channels clear on our legs. We've got our claw, our feet's cut out. We've checked. They slot together nicely, and and then this will go into the leg. But as you can see right now, these are too tall. So I've already gone and marked out what parts have to be cut away. Did that by lining up everything, laying the legs down on top of this, lining everything up, looking through the groove, marking where it ended. And so now we will use a jigsaw to cut these areas out. And then we'll sand everything and stain it, and then we will assemble. We've sanded everything, and we've made sure that everything's going to fit together. It's time to stain. Now, to put the legs into place, first you want to apply glue. I just sort of drizzled on every edge. Make sure that there's enough in there. You can't use too much glue, and ideally, really, when you press everything together, you want some glue to be seeping out from the seams. That means that there's a good seal there. So apply your glue liberally. A better craftsman may go back then and take a brush, but we'll be fine, because honestly the pressure of the wood is actually going to keep it in. The glue is just there for extra. But basically, put your first piece in. So yeah, if you couldn't see how these are been slotting together, so this is going like this as the first piece, then that cutout is there so that we can get the second piece to go in like this. Now, this leg is a little tight. I had some issues on the first leg, but we'll go over that in a second. But we're gonna have to use a little help to get this one in. So you want to take, whenever you're doing a project like this, you don't just want to hit it with the mallet. You want to take another flat surface so that it'll distribute the pressure, and even then something bad might happen. We'll see. So yeah. So if you see here, during the assembly process, I had to move to the ground and really take the sledge and beat on these pretty hard. Again, this groove could have been a little wider. Next time I'll make the grooves a little bit wider. But just because of how the wood was and the force, did have a little chip off. But that's not a problem. The same thing actually happened on 3 sides of the other leg. I don't mind. This is a personal project. I'm making stuff to go around the encampment. I think it sort of gives it a little rustic look. We will sand this down, restain it. Same with the others. Make it. These are on the legs. It's not going to be super noticeable. It kind of gives it that it's been through a lot kind of look. While I'm there, I might even scar up the legs. We'll see. But the only other thing, the boards were a little too tall still. I'm going to have to sand down the bottom to make it completely smooth. But all in all, legs are looking great. We'll leave them to set up, and we will go prep the seat of the bench. So we really have saved the easiest part for last. We've just got this board that's been sitting out in the yard, but it's still good. It's treated. Just got to sand it to knock some of the weather off. What I'm going to do is figure out how long I want the bench to be. Figure out sort of what the maximum length I can get this board without it sagging when sitting on it in the middle. So I'm thinking probably around 4 or 5 feet, and then we will mark out the holes where the pegs need to come through, those square pegs. We'll cut those out, and then all we got to do is sand this, stain it, put it on top of the legs, and our bench will be finished. Making these holes for the leg post to come through was really easy. All I did was trace directly on the wood where the hole would need to come out. I drilled out the corners with my drill bit, took the jigsaw, cut the hole out. Now, as we were fitting, I had to go back and trim the walls back a little bit more to make sure that the leg would fit in secure. But once you get it perfect, it fits really nice. With it cleared out, we can get a nice, secure, but still detachable connection. And this is our final result. I think it looks real good. I'm not going to sit on it right now because the stain is still drying. And then, of course, like with all projects, we'll go back and add a protective layer of polyurethane. But I wanted to share how the project came out. I think it turned out really good. The wear on the legs even is in place, and it's not really noticeable. And I think this is going to make a great addition to the encampment.